Welcome back and thank you for joining us today. We want to talk about something that so many betrayed partners experience. And oftentimes, at least I know I didn't have a language to go along with this. It is called trickle disclosures. You might also hear it called staggered disclosure or drip truth. But this is when your partner tells you just a little bit here, just a little bit there, but never the whole story all at once around their acting out behaviors. And sometimes you might even discover little pieces here and little pieces there on your own. And other times, again, there's been these partial truths. Then the story changes each time. But both of these experiences, disclosure and discovery, are also going to land very differently in your body, both very deeply painful. And what we know from betrayal trauma research is that every new piece of information, this is why I think this episode's so important today, and I want to really focus on the body impact here too, but every new piece of information is not just an update. It is another injury. And when you're living through these cycles of trickle disclosures, your body never gets to then stabilize. This is why the trust erodes, safety disappears, and many of you are left in that constant state of waiting for the shoe to drop, right? When's the other shoe going to drop? So in this episode, we're going to walk through the difference between disclosure and discovery, why that distinction does matter, how it impacts you as a betrayed partner, and then most importantly, what you can do to protect and support yourself if this is what you are living right now. I think our intention is not to overwhelm you. So I want to put that out there. It really is to validate. Well, let's just maybe start off there, Alana. Just validate your experience, give you this language so that you know you are not crazy and you are not alone in this experience. And then we'll share some concrete steps that you can take to protect your heart, your body, your future. Because this is hard.
It is hard. And sometimes we have this idea like we're powerless here. There's nothing I can do. I just have to get the information as I get it. But there are things you can do to protect yourself. So I think it's important to understand and know where our power does lie so we can step into that empowerment.
Yeah. So discovery, this is when the betrayed partner, I'm going to genderize here. I'm going to use betrayed partner as female, but when the betrayed partner, when she finds out on her own, maybe she stumbles across the text or an email or a hidden account or just notices the inconsistencies that don't add up until the truth just spills out. And discovery is traumatic because it is unplanned. It is unprepared. It comes without consent. It's like being blindsided, really. It's like one moment you thought you were standing on that solid ground. We've used this analogy a lot. And then the next, it's like that floor just gets ripped out from underneath you.
Mhm. And a lot of times I see with partners that there'll be a little discovery, which then triggers a searching for more.
Mm-hmm.
So in that searching for more, even that can be greater and greater discoveries. I can't even remember the amount of times that something would come through a text that was like, it was questionable, but it wasn't questionable enough that it was obvious what was going on, but my heart would start racing and my body was responding. And it was enough that I went searching for more information. And the whole time I'm searching, I feel sick and
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
shaky and I don't know what I'm going to find. And then finding more information and then even feeling more sick and sometimes going and getting physically sick as I'm discovering stuff. And so sometimes the discovery is all of a sudden you stumble on this one big piece of information. A lot of times it's a discovery that one piece leads to another, which leads to another. And so it might be a discovery over minutes, hours, or days. And even the whole process your body goes through that shock, through that discovery is quite traumatic on your body.
It is the shock. You use that word. That's exactly the experience that your body is having is shock. the heart racing, the shaking, like you said, nausea, dissociation. The brain is flooding, even with like, how did I miss this? What is this? What else don't I know? Can I trust him? Can I trust me? Is this really even something that, am I making this up? Because I've seen the opposite. It might not often lead to more looking and searching. It might, well, it's just, this is the rationalization and the minimization. Well, I don't really have any proof or evidence. And so maybe I'm making too big of a deal about it, or maybe I'm not. We can go into that more, but either a response, I think what I want to highlight there, what you're saying is your body senses that something is off, and how we then respond to it can look different. But that initial shock response or experience is significant. And I want to talk about that a little bit later. Disclosure is when the betraying partner is the one who brings the information forward. So discovery, you're looking for it or find it on happenstance or look for it either way. And then disclosures when it's being given to you. That person comes forward. That can also look very different depending on how it's done. And this right here, the trickle staggered disclosure, is what I want to talk about today. What we want to talk about today, because that is what, the information given bit by bit over time has just as much of a harmful impact on a partner as well.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because again, you're not getting full truth, hence trickle, little here, little there. While one little trickle of disclosure might give you a new sense of reality, it's still not your whole reality.
Here's the piece of this that makes this extra complicated or difficult is my brain's like, how do I say this in a way that doesn't sound like I'm excusing behavior? This isn't excusing behavior because this is incredibly problematic that this happens. A lot of times, the person who has been caught or who is sharing information, they are at all stages of recovery or their journey or ready for truth. Because I will see sometimes where somebody is caught with just a little bit of information and then they choose to disclose some additional information. They can feel really proud of themselves for disclosing additional information. But a lot of times they still have so much levels of denial themselves because they've been caught that even though the partner is begging and pleading to please tell me everything, they either are still in denial themselves, they aren't even allowing themselves to go there, or they are choosing to purposely deceive and keep information back because they feel like they've shared enough or they've shared all that they want to share or are ready to share. And so I see with disclosure really impactful injuring piece where when the person who has done the injuring is not ready or willing to give full truth right away, and 95% of the time, I don't see that they are, it causes so much more damage. And then as they start, ideally, start doing their work, then they start uncovering these layers. That's when I see them go, oh, there's this other piece. Or they move a little bit further in their work, and then the partner asks the question again, and they give just a little bit more because they've gone a little bit more in their healing. And while they think that they're doing something good and helpful by giving more information and more truth, which, yes, we do want that more truth, this process of that trickle disclosure, this process of giving them the information as you're learning it, but having that learning process go for months extends the trauma and the pain and the new information. And like you said, the shock for months.
Oh my gosh, so long. So long. And to your point, like it is hard because again, when we're talking trickle staggered disclosure, it can look like progress when they're sharing or coming forward with something. And like I'll hear betray partners, well, at least he's telling me something now. I'm not having to go find it. But trickle disclosure isn't honesty. It still isn't honesty. It's survival behavior on their part, and re-traumatization for my betrayed partners on their part. And so until we can land in a place where we have, like we say all the time, full transparency, honesty, vulnerability, like till that is consistent, then this experience that you as a betrayed partner are having from staggered disclosures is going to take you time to heal from, and your brain to really piece together reality.
Okay, so this is where my brain would have gone back in the day. I would have been hearing this and I would have been like, well, I want every little bit of information. The second he knows something, like, you better give it to me. I want it. That's how my brain works. And so
A
I would
lot
have
of our
heard
brain work.
this. I would have heard this and been like, well, hold on. Like, are you done telling me that he's going to have to like hide more information from me? Is he going to have to like state, like, if he has a realization of, he told me he slept with two people and then he realized that there was a third person that he didn't technically think it was this, but now that he's having more awareness, he realizes he needs to actually own that. You're telling me that he's supposed to not tell me this, like he's supposed to, because he's not supposed to trickle it out, right? And Amy, I know where your brain is already going. So I'm setting you up to speak to all of these partners who are like, hold up. What are you actually saying? Because I need every bit of information.
Yeah, and you need a full therapeutic disclosure, because these trickle disclosures and discoveries are not helping either one of you. This is why we talk about this all the time, and why I will 100% stand behind how Choose approaches them, and why we always say it's a process as well. But a full therapeutic disclosure ends the chaos. At least that's the intent, right? To help end the chaos, not create more, which is what the others do. It does hurt to hear full truth, but it hurts worse to live in these half truths. If we are approaching recovery in a healthy way, then we're working towards, the one who needs to share information is working towards being able to give that to you in a full disclosure where you can ask the questions, they answer the questions, where you're not left, your both of your all's nervous systems aren't left to more chaos and harm.
Okay. And I'll just say the full therapeutic disclosure, for some people, the process of doing it over a matter of months and really like having this thorough process to get there is exactly what they need. It allows each partner to really prepare for the full disclosure. And for some of my partners, doing it in an intensive and scheduling it just a couple of weeks out is what's best for them too. So I'm just going to put that out there, that I'm not going to say which is right, because I have some partners where even waiting 2 more months puts them in 2 more months of pain and waiting. And they have already been in a certain place that they need this information immediately. So I want to speak to that and say, I see you, I hear you. And there's a lot of people out there who are doing full disclosure intensives, including us, that for those of you, that could be a really good option. For others of you, taking the time to really be thorough and focus on your own work, knowing that they're doing their work over there is what you need. I'll never say for you what that is, but I will just put that there's two different ways you can go about it, but both of them eliminate this trickle process. Both of it creates a structure, a container that not only is there support in getting this information, but there's support for you as a betrayed partner to support your nervous system, to support your healing, to help hold this, to help you be able to metabolize what you hear and let it move through your body because you're in safety, versus being hit with the shock and having that be stored in your body.
Well, and it's the storing in the body that I know I did not realize the level of impact that really has. And I know that even working with my partners, they don't even really understand the level of impact that it has had on their body. And oftentimes, because we are living in survival, we don't see it. You know, we don't see the impact. That in of itself, I think, takes time. It's part of the somatic healing work that we also have to do in this journey, because but there is an impact. And so you mentioned the nervous system. Your nervous system is going to get stuck in that threat mode. That's one of the consequences of having trickle disclosures is that nervous system gets stuck in threat mode. Everything is high alert. Everything is a threat externally, internally. And that's a very challenging way to feel. I was just at the visiting with my functional medicine doctor again, and because my inflammation started to amp up. And so I went back, we did some retesting. He looks at me and his first question is always, "What's changing in your life? What's changed in the past few months?" And of course, for me, my big change is my baby is leaving my house. And I am done with that stage of parenting and all the things that go with that. And I've felt like I've allowed the grief. I feel like I'm cognizant of it, but I told him, I said, "Okay, I think maybe I'm in a little bit of denial as to how really this is impacting my body." And he goes, "Well, you are because I have the test holding up my numbers to show that you are definitely being impacted by this." So it's my point is that it is easy to discount the impact that this is having on your body.
In my experience with a lot of my clients, whether or not this comes from childhood or this comes from living in a relationship that you were emotionally unsafe and didn't know it, survival has become such a part of your norm. So it's almost like, let's just pretend, talking about like a thermostat, 68 to 72 is the temperature that you just feel good at. But you have been so used to living at either 66 or 76, that has felt normal to you.
Yeah.
And so I'll see clients that they don't even know or realize what it feels like to be regulated, to have their body either not in that shutdown mode, that hypoarousal, or being stuck in that hyperarousal where they're just revved up.
Yeah. And this is why you don't trust yourself. This is why you're unsure. This is why I'll hear clients say, "Well, maybe I'm overreacting or maybe I'm expecting too much." There's a lot that goes into this. And I just want to validate though what you're saying too, Alana. It's going to take time. You might not know what healthy regulated feels like. And that's why this whole healing process should never be done alone or expected to do on your own. You really do need that support, and why the disclosure process requires support as well. I've never, I have, maybe you have, I have yet to see a couple who have done it on their own and come out unscathed to not have that support.
And even with the support, I love when we can have a whole team working with a couple.
Yeah.
We can have a therapist overseeing it, and we can have the betrayed partner have their own person, and the person who's acted outside of their values have their own person. And when each person feels really seen and supported, because when we're sitting in a full disclosure, my whole body is completely turned towards the person that I'm working with, and my focus is on them. And I always like say to the other partner, like, I'm really proud of you. I'm glad you're here. And I'm not turning away from you to block you out. I am just going to give all of my attention to said client because I am here to support them. So I'm watching their body language. I'm energetically supporting them. I'm going to, if I see that they start taking notes, we're going to pause so they can fully be present. I'm going to be watching for them to shut down. And so there is just such a tending.
Yes.
Oh,
Beautiful word, attending to.
yeah. So you really are tending to their needs and supporting them through this really hard, difficult information.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the person who's betrayed, to have somebody who gets you and understands you and can encourage you. And when you start spinning in shame, they can take you and help you go ground and recenter so you can show up in the way that you want to and that you work so hard to do. So having those individual support people, I just think holds such value. And if whoever you're working through is not doing that, I would say put on the brakes and make sure you each have your own support person who is really committed to not only to taking care of you, but then also supporting the process as a couple.
Yes. You get to advocate for yourself, and we're giving you permission to, to advocate for yourself because the amount of clients that don't know that they get to have a say in that. So my job is not to even say like, come choose us, but here's what you get to expect. Here's
Can
what's
I
possible.
just say something about that really quick? Because
Yeah.
it was a huge aha for me. By the way, we're like totally getting off track on full disclosures, but it all applies. So, no, but culture wise, certain cultures are trained to not trust people in authority, and other cultures are trained to. I came from a culture that trained me that, like, when a doctor says something, you don't disagree. When a teacher tells you to do something, you get in line. Like, they are in authority, you are not, you just listen and you obey. And so for me to start having a voice and be like, for my leader at church to say something I didn't agree with, it was okay to say, actually, that's not okay. That was, like, mind-blowing for me that I could even think that, let alone say that. Or with a doctor, to disagree with a doctor was unheard of, and so learning how to do that, and especially with a therapist, that not all therapists know everything. I don't know everything, and I have seen a lot of therapists who have chosen to not do their own healing work, which impacts how they do therapy. And so really learning that not only is it okay for you to advocate for yourself, it's important. And you are the expert in your own life and you. And so really learning how to have a voice in all of this, learning how to have a voice and saying, I'm not willing to do these trickle disclosures because it's harming me. And I'm
Mhm.
learning how much that's harming me. I'm not okay doing a full disclosure in the way you're asking me to do it and voicing for yourself. Now, sometimes there are ways or reasons therapists need to ethically do it the way they're doing it, but then that offers a beautiful conversation for the two of you to talk and explore together to figure out what does work.
Yeah. Well, and I just want to make the point too is that just you as a betrayed partner can't control if your partner tells the truth, but you can control what part of the process you'll participate in.
Mhm.
And so I want to end with what you can do. If you are in this cycle of trickle and nothing really is happening, rather than running and saying, okay, you need to stop doing. I mean, you can, but like, I really want to empower you of, okay, here's what you can do. And again, going back to advocating for yourself, this might be the process. You might not be ready or willing to step into that full disclosure process, whatever that looks like. And you can control what process you'll participate in. This boundary is not about punishing them. It really is, remember, about protecting you. You have the right to say, I will not accept trickle truth anymore because you and your job is to protect your nervous system. It that protects your soul. And I will speak for myself. I felt like I lost access to my soul. I'll frame it that way. I didn't even know where that was anymore. And because of living in so much trauma and survival and confusion and chaos for far too long, that doesn't have to be part of your story. And maybe you think it does. I don't know. Maybe you think this is just part of it and it isn't. It doesn't have to be. So I want to empower you as a betrayed partner to know that it doesn't have to be. You get to step out of that and make a request and say, this is where I draw my line because it is harming.
Well, and how your partner responds to that is going to be information for you because we can't control what they do.
Mhm,
They may refuse to do a full disclosure. That's going to be information for you. They may refuse to do a polygraph. That's information for you.
mhm.
They may say, yes, I'll do it, but only in my way. That's going to be information. And so letting your boundaries be the opportunity also to see reality.
Yeah.
Letting, because again, you cannot control them. You can't make them tell you the truth. Trust me, like I have tried everything under the sun to not only try to get them to give me the information and get all of it every single time. I tried every technique I could to protect myself from future hurts. And like, trust me, like I've tried it all.
Yeah.
And the thing that I have learned over all of these years is truly how much power I don't have when it comes to them and their choices. And there was a massive grieving and mourning that reality. And there was a lot of self care that needed to happen with recognizing that. And even that awareness came in layers for me.
Mhm.
But when I finally could embrace, that's where I really could step into my own empowerment. That's where I could really go, okay, now what? Now that I can see reality, I'm not helpless, which is where my brain wanted to go.
Mhm.
It wanted to go of like, there's nothing I can do. I've made my request and he doesn't want to honor it. So I guess I'm just like, I guess I just have to make it work. And I,
Yeah, that's different than what you're saying. What you just said right there, I think is really important. When people hear us say you don't have control, that isn't the response. The helpless, throw your hands up, not doing anything. That's not what we're saying. And I actually hear a lot of people like interpret it that way. So
yeah.
can you just like reiterate that again? I think that's so important to distinguish.
Well, yeah. And I think it's a really natural place to go. If
For
like,
sure.
if I can't actually have control or I have zero power over what they say or do, then I just kind of have to like deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the reality is it's an option. You
You
can
can.
do that. But you also do get to make choices for you of what you will and will not accept. But sometimes those choices mean that you have to step in some uncomfortability.
Yeah.
And I'll just say, like, for me, I didn't want to step into any uncomfortability. I wanted him to be in the uncomfortable and I wanted him to make the change and I wanted him, like, I could keep going.
Right.
Right. But the reality is as long as I was just waiting on him, I was waiting on my own life and I was waiting on my own healing.
Yeah.
So really stepping into my power and my choices and levels of my own discomfort that allowed me to be empowered was what was the most healing thing.
And wouldn't you say the more you believed that you were worth truth, healing, like you were worth that, it pulled you more out of the helpless, throw your hands in the air? I feel like I'm listening to you and I'm like, there's a level of believing that you're worth it that
Yes, but
sometimes
here's
strengthens. Like,
I'll just let you
or,
into Alana's complicated that I think probably plays into other women's complicated. If somebody asked me if I had self-worth and confidence, I'd be like, "Hell yeah, I do. I don't deserve this. I didn't do this. These were his choices. I couldn't have been a better wife or had better sex with him or whatever. Like that was on him."
Mhm.
But say all that and believe that, which blocked me from really digging in and doing this really like deep, tender, buried so deep, even I didn't know how deep it was around my own self worth that came from some childhood stuff that I didn't know how deeply that was buried and hid. And so that like superficial, higher level of confidence for a long time blocked me from really seeing the reality of what I had accepted and continued to accept. And the only way I could have continued to accept that is if there was a deeper belief around my self worth and my deserving of it. And it took me a while to move past the outer confidence, which was there and was true,
Mhm.
and move into that really deep, vulnerable self worth.
Yeah. No, I think it's very relatable. I think that's most of us. I could talk big, but when it came down to it, I was behaving small.
Yeah.
And the more that I've done that deeper work, I'm not living so small.
I love the way you just said that. I was talking big but behaving small.
Mhm.
Mhm. Some ways I would talk big and then I would undermine that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're not aware of all of these things until you do the deeper work. And well, hopefully this validated the experience, gave a language. I don't know if we said this, just a couple of things that you can do, validate yourself. Like we're validating you. But when you get these staggered disclosures, like it's not you being too sensitive when you're having these experiences. Validate the experience that you're having, the experience that you're having in your body, shift to that requiring process. You don't have to put all these scraps and pieces of the puzzle together. You get to ask for structure around that, whatever that looks like for you in terms of full disclosure. Then protect your nervous system. Protect your nervous system, whatever that looks like for you. Maybe it's avoiding late night conversations right now, whatever, just, and then boundaries. What are those boundaries that you might need right now to protect your system from being activated so much? What does that look like? Please work with a professional to help what that looks like for you just right now in your particular situation. There are things you can do. I don't want this episode to leave you like, well, great. Now I have that information. Now what? There are things you can do. You don't have to be helpless in this, where there is a lot that you're not controlling. Let's get you the support that you need to take your power back.
Yeah. And if you're post full disclosure, you are still getting some type of trickle disclosure because that does happen. You have the right to create a container either on going back and getting another type of disclosure after, or creating a container on how and when that information is shared so you can be prepared for it, which could sound like I will not have you just randomly sharing information with me, but I would like that we schedule an appointment with a therapist and you say, hey, said partner, I would like you to come with me to my therapist tomorrow because there's some information I want to share with you. Now, I'll just say my anxious parts of me would be like, tell me now,
Tell
tell
me
me
now.
now. But as I've done my healing work and I've learned how to be compassionate to myself, then I have learned that when I can be patient and do it in a way that's also helpful for me, that can be more healing. But
Yeah.
I say that's
Oh,
what
I'm
I would.
glad you said that. Well, and by the way, this is what we do at Choose when we leave a full disclosure. We do have you create a plan of what that does look like after. That is part of it. And so a lot of times that isn't included or talked about. So I'm glad you brought that up. There's a plan for that as well on how to move forward after a full disclosure for more information if needs be. How do you want to receive that? Again, that's putting you in power and protecting your nervous system, which is, I think, really my motivation for this episode topic when I wrote it down in our things to talk about, because this is what comes up is this idea that some of my partners have of I'm just supposed to put up with it. And this is just how it is. No, no.
I'll just do a quick plug too. All of our intensives are built around nervous system regulation because it is so important. And whether somebody's coming in for like an individual intensive or somebody's coming in for, I have an intensive specifically for a full disclosure coming up, and I'm spending a whole day with the partner of just doing nervous system regulation the day before.
My
Or
favorite.
like in October, we have our betrayal trauma, just healing from betrayal trauma. And every single day, we're building in that nervous system regulation because tending to the nervous system and protecting the body is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself in this healing journey. There's a lot of gifts, but it's pretty dang high up there. The nervous system regulation and tending to the body and learning to listen to the body. It's just so valuable.
Well, it has to be. I know we're trying to wrap up, but like the nervous system is the vehicle for attachment. So if we're just trying to focus on attachment and then injury and connecting again, but we haven't fixed the vehicle to drive the attachment, you're not going to go very far.
Yeah.
Let's just slow down.
All
My
right.
clients hate that. Slow down.
All we want to do is put our foot on the gas pedal and just get through it. Right. I hear you. I know.
Oh, shoot.
Okay. Well, as always, your work is so valuable. It's so important and it's so much bigger than just you. But even if it wasn't, and it is, but even if it wasn't, you are worth it. As always, thanks for hanging out with Amy and I, and we look forward to seeing you all next week.
After experiencing betrayal trauma and you're trying desperately to save your relationship, I know how much energy that takes. But here's the truth: no matter what happens in that relationship, you still need a safe, healthy connection to you. That's where healing really begins. In my self paced course, Intimacy Within, I guide you through those 7 levels of intimacy: verbal, cognitive, emotional, psychological, spiritual, physical, and sexual, so that you can rebuild that connection with yourself. We use the intimacy triangle: self, others, and higher power, because true intimacy starts with that first corner, you. If you don't know how to honor your voice, understand your thoughts, trust your emotions, and feel safe in your own body, it's going to be really hard to build lasting intimacy with anybody else, even your spouse. This course is here to gently walk you back home to yourself, towards yourself, one level at a time. With the workbook included, practice at your own pace. The self-paced course, Intimacy Within, it was designed just for you, because no matter where your relationship ends, you are absolutely worth healing for. Head over to the show notes or go to amywillsey.com and click on Intimacy Within, and you can start today. Take care, everybody.